All right, I'm going to be reading to you a short story over the next few days from a novel called The Bet. It's by Evan Jacobs. We're going to be reading one chapter at a time, and then you are going to respond in your Canvas page to tell me why you think the chapter title is a good title. So you want to think about what events happens or what is said by the characters that tie to the title. So our first title, our first chapter is called The Game. So as I read this chapter, The Game, be thinking about what is the game and what is important about the game. Chapter 1, The Game. "That's as far as you've gotten?" Marlon Moore smiled. Marlon walked with Steve McCain. The two were at Walden Lane Middle School. It was time for 8th grade science class. Science was their second class of the day. The school was for 7th and 8th graders. All of the classrooms faced an open square. Trees and flowers were in the middle of the campus. The school also had a large field and a blacktop. Steve was playing Clan Castles. The video game was on his phone. There were many kings in the game. The goal was to steal each king's castle, but there were a lot of hurdles. Clan Castle also had 99 levels. Steve was only on level 16. The two boys were best friends. They loved to play video games, but that's not all they did together. After school, they rode their bikes. Marlon and Steve liked to have fun. They would pedal around town. Finding new things to do was a big deal. And on the weekends, they would go to the movies. "What level did you get to?" Steve asked. He shook his shaggy blonde hair out of his face. 35, Marlon said proudly. 35? Steve repeated. No way. Clan Castle got harder with each level. The game was really popular. It had started as an app, then it went to the Wii. After that, it went to the Xbox. Now you could play it on everything. Yeah, it was easy, Marlon grinned. I'll get there, Steve said. Yeah, when you're 80, Marlon joked. They laughed. The boys continued talking. Then they went into science class. They saw something different. Their teacher was not there. Instead, they had a sub, Mr. Lerner. He was cool. Mr. Lerner had been their sub before. They met him last year. That was back in 7th grade. He taught while another teacher was on leave. Fun fact, Mr. Lerner loved gaming. He had been a Pac-Man pro back in the day. Pac-Man was an old school video game. Pac-Man ate dots in a maze. Then he avoided the ghosts. They could trap him. Marlon and Steve played it sometimes. Mr. Lerner let students goof off, but kids had to get their work done first. After everyone just had to be quiet. Marlon took his time with his work, but he got distracted. A Marvel cartoon came to him. He had watched it the night before. It was about Doctor Strange. He was a scientist. Doctor Strange developed cool powers. He went back to his work. Then Marlon noticed Steve. He was working quickly. In no time, he was done. Steve got out his phone. He was playing Clan Castles again. "He'll never beat my score," Marlon thought. Marlon was a really good gamer. It was okay to brag. He was the best in Walden Lane, period. Being the best wasn't too hard. Walden Lane was a small city. It was surrounded by nature. There were hills and trails. Most people liked to be outside. Marlon's parents wanted him outside too. They said too much gaming rotted your brain. No way, Marlon said. It was lunch. Students walked around, some were talking, others were reading, a few were texting. Phones were allowed during school breaks, or if you had a cool sub like Mr. Lerner. Steve and Martin went to the cafeteria. They bought pasta. In elementary school, they thought the cafeteria's food was gross. Somehow the food was better in middle school. Yahweh, Steve said. He showed Marlin his phone. A castle was in ruins. Steve was on level 42. Maybe we should play later, Marlin said. Let's make a bet. Whoever gets the highest wins. We do in one game. One game gave each player 3 lives. If you lost all 3, the game was over. Okay, Steve said, but we need rules. Why? Marlin didn't like rules. He liked to do things his own way. So this can be legit, Steve said. He drank some milk. The loser will buy. It's winner's choice at 7-Eleven. Hope you saved your cash, Marlin said. The first rule is no boosting, Steve said. A boost was a special move. It helped if a player got stuck. A boost came in handy. That's fine. Marlin ate some pasta. I'm not going to need any. All right, take just a minute in your Canvas page before we move on to chapter 2, and I want you to type in there, why was this chapter called The Game? What is the game? And what details did you learn about the game? Why is the game important? Just anything that you can remember about the game and why this chapter is called it. And then we'll move on to chapter 2.